you talk about how these series came to a head and what has been happening in this postseason for the Yanks. Offensively, it hasn't been Aaron Judge.
Baseball is such a big win here. All you ask for, East Coast Monster City, West Coast Monster City, the biggest of biggest Titan superstars on both sides here, two mammoth fan bases. The entire country can buy into this one.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
Let's go!
It's the final Saturday in October. It's week number 9 of the 2024 college football season. It's College Football Today live right here on this Saturday on SportsGrid. He is the mastermind of the college football pigskin. That is Joe Lisi. He is OK Dubs. That is Kevin Walsh. And I am Ben Stevens. One final Saturday in this month before we head into November, where the chase for the college football playoff intensifies. Conference matchups become that much more important, and we get you set for everything you need to know on this Saturday slate here on Saturday, October 26th. Lisi, guy, it's a great weekend of college football. We've got 5 ranked versus ranked top 25 tilts on this Saturday. That's the most we have seen in a single day all season long. But it wasn't just Saturday, Joe. Things got started early. Thursday night, Pitt State's perfect. 9 remaining undefeated teams after Liberty suffered its first loss of the year on Wednesday. And last night, a crucial group of 5 matchup in Las Vegas between 17th ranked Boise State and UNLV. It wasn't overly explosive for Ashton Genty and the Broncos, but they do prevail in Las Vegas 29-24.
Yeah, gutty win. They trailed that matchup 10-3. They came back in the fourth quarter in the second half of that matchup, pull it out 29-24. Gutty win. They're in perfect opportunity to steal and win the Mountain West. And what we saw on Thursday night, Kyle McCord just threw another pick six for Syracuse. An amazing game. They built a 31-0 lead. Pitt hangs on. They're a dark horse right now for the ACC championship. Don't count out Pitt and Eli Holstein playing lights out right now heading into week number 9. And I'll say this about the battle in Kyle Field. Two top teams. You got LSU, you got Texas A&M, undefeated in the SEC. A&M, Chem, has won the last 3 in the series by an average margin in Kyle Field by 10 points per game. Something has to give, and I'm curious about this top 25 battle in MetLife, Notre Dame and Navy.
Yeah, we're going to get to all of it here, a lot of ranked action. I'll just say with that Boise game, it's a nice win. They were on the road. They are beatable. Plus 136 right now to not make the playoff. I'm interested in that number. I think you let Notre Dame Navy play out because that's relevant to the race there. But again, I don't think Boise's getting an at-large bid. It means that at worst, you'd be holding a money line ticket in the Mountain West Championship against them. You maybe not be getting the best value, but also this team trips up somewhere else, you're probably cashing that bet.
Still could be the running Rebs to see Boise State in that Mountain West title game. The Broncos, though, enter this Week 9 Saturday at a minus 175 number to reach the college football playoff. It's eighth best around the country, minus 185 to win the Mountain West as well. 5 ranked versus ranked top 25 tilts on this Saturday. Part of that is because teams in the AP poll that we haven't seen in a long time. We've got 5 ranked versus ranked games because of Navy, number 24 in the country. Vanderbilt ranked during the middle of a season for the first time since 2008. The Commodores are number 25. But, Joe, the best top 25 tilt that we have on this Saturday comes in prime time in College Station. Kyle Field, one of the great settings in this sport of college football. 110,000 plus going to be yelling all Saturday night long as number 14 Texas A&M plays host to number 8 LSU. The Aggies a very slight favorite, 1.5 point spread in favor of A&M. Just about 20 cents of distinction on that money line as of this Saturday morning. Joe, you mentioned it. Home field advantage has been crucial in this matchup as of late. How do you see tonight in Kyle Field?
I think it's going to be a difficult game for LSU heading into this matchup, but I still believe in the quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier, and I believe in their offensive weapons. They started fast last week, built a 14-0 first-half lead against Arkansas, dominated as a 2.5 point favorite, 34-10, and that defense has really carried them over back-to-back weeks, especially against Ole Miss and Arkansas, and that travels well. We talk about LSU, guys, in terms of the sack total. 22 sacks over the last 5 weeks. They have 24 on the season. They can run sideline to sideline. And again, if they trail in this matchup, they have the offensive capability, Kev, to come from behind with Garrett Nussmeier. They play close games, but they're battle-tested. That's the difference, in my opinion, when you look at Nussmeier and Wigman in this matchup. You know, Texas A&M really needs to dictate tempo. They need to play from ahead, and that's the difference. I'm giving the edge to LSU in this ballgame.
So, for me, I think these are pretty similar teams. I'm positioned like you preseason with LSU to win the SEC.
Yeah.
I kind of hope I'm wrong, but I'm on A&M money line here. As I said, I think these are pretty even teams. Home field advantage has to count for something.
Yeah.
This is college football after all.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, I think, is in a really nice spot. Huge get-up game against Missouri, off the bye, missed state, little sleepy. You get it done. Defense didn't show out. We know Elko's group is better than that. LSU's been through the ringer a little bit. Monster game against Ole Miss, one of the better wins of the SEC season. Then they have a really tough game against Arkansas. A great win, Joe. I was surprised. I was impressed with how dominant they were. Here we go again, though. I think they've had more on their plate the past few weeks than A&M with home field advantage. If this was 3.5, I might be on LSU. If it was 3, I might have tried to get involved with maybe Nussmeier or 1.5 passing touchdowns. At a pick'em, I got to back the Aggies.
And it was 2.5 earlier this week in favor of A&M. Line has worked to the Bayou Bengals. In that matchup, Kev, against the Hogs last week in Fayetteville, LSU's defense is really improving week over week. Held a good rushing Arkansas team to only 38 yards on the ground, just 2 yards per carry. This LSU team played in 13 total games a season ago. They went over in 12, the highest over percentage in college football last season. The Bayou Bengals now under in 4 straight. It has been that improving defense that has LSU in this spot, ranked inside the AP top 10. Both of these teams lost their season opener, have won 6 straight since. So, Kev, if you're looking at A&M tonight, we have an improved LSU defense under Blake Baker that has risen to the occasion in the last month. Connor Wigman is the starting quarterback once again for A&M. Clean football in that matchup against Missouri. Multiple interceptions yet again last week in the matchup against Mississippi State. What do you want to see out of the Aggies' offense in their attack of LSU?
I think you hit it right there. You have to be clean. Nussmeier's thrown 6 interceptions this season. He threw multiple against Ole Miss. He had one in the game against USC early season. You look last week, it was kind of the most mundane game of Nussmeier's season, and I'm sure there's going to be some desire for him to let this ball get down the field here. And again, he can attack. There could be some advantages, but with touchdown passes and 40 attempts possibly could come interceptions. I think that is the area where I would hope Connor Wegman can win, because truly this isn't a best bet run to the window, chest out. I'm telling you right now, because I don't love Connor Wegman. I really don't. He's not a guy that I'm over the moon about betting. It's Spot, it's Elko, and for me, again, it's more A&M's defense, Joe. I think despite both of us preseason being in on LSU in season, You're buying the Tigers' defense a little more than I am.
I am, but I'm nervous about this game. It's not going to be easy, I believe. It's going to be a 4-quarter game. And to your point, Kev, that's why I believe in order for Texas A&M to win this ball game, they're going to need to run the football with Le'Veon Moss. They're averaging well over 200 yards per game, 5.3 yards per rush. That goes into the strength of LSU. They're holding opposing offenses right now to 114 rushing yards per game. But you look at A&M on the flip side for their defense, 30% third down defense. If they could force long third downs against Garrett and Nussmeier, get some sacks, turnovers, they're +5 in turnover margin. They start fast. That home field will really come into factor, and that's where I give the edge to A&M. But I'm still leaning on Nussmeier's experience in this ballgame.
When you see what LSU has done as of late, allowing less than 21 points per game, again, under in 4 consecutive. Last year, they were allowing 28 points per game and more than 415 yards. A much improved defensive front for this LSU team. And here is the scope of this game. Yes, both teams losing their season opener, but both still very much in the hunt for an SEC championship and perhaps a national title as well. LSU and Texas A&M both inside the 15 best prices to reach the college football playoff entering this final weekend in October. Yet another significant Saturday in the SEC continues next.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player speed I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like this that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I tend to do this a lot, by the way. I do it more in baseball with the anytime home run, where I may play 4 players at home. I call it covering the board. You know, if I take 4 players, bet the same amount on each, I only need to hit 2 of them and I win money.
He's already got, 438 rushing yards on the season. He's looking like the old LT days where the Chargers were able to have that strong, dominant running back.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this final Saturday in October, it is college football today. And by the end of October, could the Alabama Crimson Tide have 3 regular season losses? Almost unfathomable. It has not happened in SEC play for Alabama since 2010, but it is very much at stake on this Saturday afternoon in our second of 5 top 25 matchups to break down on this Saturday, week number 9. Kevin, Alabama enters this matchup against top 25 Missouri as more than a 2-touchdown favorite at home. Looking to bounce back from its second loss of the year last week on Rocky Top and a low-scoring game against Tennessee. This is now our second time in the last month we have asked a similar question. What resolve do we see out of the Crimson Tide today?
So the problem with this matchup here, and I think just not to throw water on the slate, but the game that we just did, ranked, pick'em game.
Yeah.
The rest of them, all 2 touchdowns.
Correct.
This one is specifically tough to watch because this wouldn't be 2 touchdowns. This is not, man, they love Alabama. If you see this line, he goes, something's not right here. They're telling me to bet back. No. They're telling you that Missouri lost all of their good offensive players outside of Luther Burden, though I don't know how effective Luther Burden will be without Brady Cook, considering Luther Burden this season hasn't been all that effective even with Brady Cook.
Yeah.
So that is the issue here, Joe. I always hesitate to get involved with games that are dealing with backup quarterbacks. It makes for a really rough spot. There's some angles that I do like here, but if I was betting this side, I can only bet Alabama. Drew Pine stepping in. Trust me, Drew Pine is not the guy, Joe.
He's not the guy. 8 of 21, I believe, last week.
Correct.
For less than 100 yards, and then Brady Cook came back. They pull out that victory against Auburn, 21-17, close as a 3.5-point favorite. They cover the game. But this game, for me, is more about Alabama than it is Missouri. And Nate Noel, their starting running back from Missouri's out. Marcus Carroll will jump into that. But there's a lot of pressure on Alabama. There's a lot of pressure on Kalen DeBoer for this team to rebound. They had a 7-0 lead at halftime against a rival, a team that they had beaten 16 out of the last 17 times. The college football playoff hopes on the line, and they allowed 24 second-half points. Not only that, but the offense was one-dimensional. They run for 2.2 yards per carry, give up 214 rushing yards to Tennessee, 5.3 yards per carry.
Right.
Missouri, to me, is playing with house money. I don't love them, but I'm going to take a shot with the 15.5 because that secondary, for me, is only giving up 157 passing yards per game. Let's keep in mind, too, Alabama struggled in the second half against Georgia. They struggled against USF at home. They struggled in many games, South Carolina. So to say that they're going to walk out there because they're coming off a loss and dominate this ball game by 28, I'll take the points and I'll reassess from an in-game perspective.
So let's take a look at the Crimson Tide. After they beat Georgia in a thrilling game of the year to end out September, they had the second best price to reach the college football playoff at minus 1,200, just backed by 10 cents of Ohio State with the second best number to win a national championship. Then they lose to Vanderbilt. All right, one loss in the 12-team expanded era of the college football playoff, still very much in the running. Okay, how about multiple losses? Still a chance to reach the college football playoff. You see the odds there. Alabama, the 13th best number, minus 105 to get to the CFP. If we do that math, though, to miss a slightly better price on the Crimson Tide right now. And, Lisi, one of the issues that has plagued this Alabama team is not just the defense. We knew there was going to be some woes on that side of the football. Could the offense hold up its end of the bargain? Jalen Milroe has not in the last 3 SEC games. 3 touchdown passes to only 5 interceptions. Versus Tennessee last week, the first time this year he did not utilize his legs to find Pater. So we know Alabama has defensive issues. How much does the offense need to show today in Tuscaloosa to beat Missouri and maybe cover this number?
Well, again, we know that Missouri's limited, right? So if you're Alabama, I think the key number for me is 24 points. You get to that, most likely they'll win this game. But again, you know, Missouri's played lower scoring games. They've played mobile quarterbacks. They played Boston College and Thomas Castellanos. Now, they won that matchup 27-21.
Did not cover.
Did not cover as a 13.5-point home favorite. So again, I think the mobility of Milroe on the ground is going to be the difference. If he can make plays with his legs, Alabama will most likely cover this line. But we saw the interception in the end zone. The red zone opportunities are going to be critical. And the offensive line now, not that strong anymore. 15 total sacks allowed. So I need to see Milroe get to at least 50 rushing yards on the ground. They do that and they convert third downs and get to 24, they most likely win it.
So there was something last week, though, within Bama's approach offensively that didn't really make sense. I know Tennessee has been very good this season defensively, but they went into halftime with what looked like a Colorado Buffaloes box score, Milroe throwing every play. If I were to tell you that Ryan Williams is going to be targeted 18 times, 700 yards?
Yeah.
I don't like 73, only 8 grabs there.
Correct.
It wasn't in sync. There was no rhythm. The running backs couldn't get going. Yeah, I'm defending Milroe a bit, but I think it's again, way too much on his plate in a way that you don't expect it to be on his plate there. I've heard people question if he's healthy fully, and I don't know if that's, again, covering for him, but this team's not been the same. It's not from when they lost to Vanderbilt. They got completely shut down from the second half on against Georgia.
Yeah.
They were not the same team. They were lighting that team on fire. Their only explosive play was that was the play that won the game to Ryan Williams, but that was it. Yeah. There was no drives down the field and making things happen. I want to just quickly mention, though, with all the injuries for Missouri.
Correct.
Nate Noel and Marcus Carroll were a pair of huge recruits that they brought in. Nate Noel won the job comfortably. He, along with Brady Cook, out for this game. Marcus Carroll is even money for 60-plus rushing yards. You look at what those two average combined on a game-to-game basis.
Yeah.
Marcus Carroll should be out here solo style in this backfield. And I think with Drew Pine, a lot of attempts for Mizzou. I know it's a big spread, but he should still get around 15 carries. I like Marcus Carroll through that number.
A top 10 rusher last year in college football, 1,350 on the ground for Georgia State, 8 carries in 40 yards, and a touchdown last week against Auburn. Missouri in 4 games against power conference competition, just 1-3 ATS. Bama has been favored in its last 3 SEC games, 0-3 against the number, 2 losses outright. How about those Commodores? We talk Vandy in Texas next.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player we've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you guys do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I tend to do this a lot, by the way. I do it more in baseball with the anytime home run, where I may play 4 players hit home run. I call it covering the board. You know, if I take 4 players, bet the same amount on each, I only need to hit 2 of them and I win money.
He's already got 438 rushing yards on the season. He's looking like the old LT days where the Chargers were able to have that strong, dominant running back.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This way. Check.
Welcome back to College Football Today, live right here on this final Saturday in October on SportsGrid. So it's the last weekend of October. It is week number 9 already of this 2024 college football campaign. Coming in November, in just about a week and a half, we will hear from the selection committee for the first time in the 12-team era. We will get our first CFB rankings. But now we look at the college football playoff odds. Where is the country stacking up right now entering this last last Saturday in October. There is a new number one atop the AP Top 25. That is Oregon. We'll break down the Ducks' battle in a Top 20 tilt today at home inside Autzen Stadium against Illinois. But as we look at the 10 best prices to reach the college football playoff, everybody is in minus money. In fact, on the FanDuel Sportsbook, 13 teams have a minus money price. Alabama, minus 105. Better odds to miss right now than make the college football playoff. But, Lisi, let's start at the top. Oregon, minus 3,500. Georgia, minus 1,700. Ohio State, minus 1,000. Texas, minus 850. And Penn State at a minus 600 number. The 5 best prices, all heavily juiced to reach the CFB. Do you think all 5 of those programs will be playing in the college football playoff?
I don't think so. I don't think all 5 will make it. I think 1 or 2 possibly will be out. We see Georgia with 1 loss. They still have tough games down the stretch, but I still think the Bulldogs will be there along with Oregon. Oregon's toughest game after today is on the road in the Big House, right? They have that in the rivalry game against Washington at the end of the year. I think Penn State potentially is the one team that I look at with Ohio State on deck. They're 3.5-point dogs in that matchup already. That's going to be a factor. Penn State, to me, out of the top 5, I think is the one question mark. They've answered the bell up until this point, but we've seen them play down to the level of competition. We'll see how it plays out over the next 4 or 5 weeks.
So if you look right now, if you parlay those 5, you get around minus 178, which I think is a telling number because sometimes when we see a bunch of big favorites, man, come on, how does somebody lose there? You love to do it with like a college basketball Saturday, and you go, plus 125. Someone is going to get upset, huh? Minus 178, it shows just how strong all those numbers are. You mentioned the Nittany Lions. I think all that matters is actually winning today against Wisconsin. We're going to break that game down. You can tell via the number that they, laying under a touchdown on the road, that's a tricky spot. I don't think the Ohio State game has any bearing on them making the playoff. I think it has absolutely none. It's followed with Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, and Maryland. Not to hand-wave those teams, but again, if you're James Franklin, you can't lose those games. And I think even where if they beat Wisconsin today, you may get enough grace looking around the country. You might be able to lose a game, one of those games. You're not losing. I cannot imagine in those final 4 games they lose twice.
What is so interesting and part of the excitement this year in Happy Valley is that Penn State doesn't have to play Michigan. The Big Ten East no longer exists, but it also ramps up the pressure on making sure you capitalize on the potential of reaching the college football playoff. Of those 5 best prices, only 2 teams undefeated, Oregon and Penn State. Goes to show that despite a loss for Georgia, Ohio State, and Texas, the path to the CFP is still very favorable. In the top 10, Kev, as we look at it right now, a little bit more parity perhaps than the 10 best prices entering the year. 3 Big Ten teams, 3 SEC teams, but multiple ACC teams. Notre Dame thrown in there as well, and a Big 12 team, Iowa State, who is perfect at 7-0 as well. This story of this season has been parity. Generational starts, including the Cyclones and many others. Miami remains perfect as well. The Sunshine State showdown today against Florida State that we all circled entering the year as a monumental game for the CFP and the ACC. The Canes lay 20.5.
Yeah, look, Miami is in a good spot. Them not being minus 3 or them being minus 340 compared to the teams in front of them shows you how the books are still hesitant to believe that the ACC is going to send multiple teams, at least confidently, which I think is a little unfair. I don't know. I feel right now, why is it that we have to put in 6 SEC teams? And again, preseason, I'm fine with that, but I think the ACC should right now look around and say, Clemson, Miami are getting in. And, with SMU and Pitt playing well, like why the ACC should not feel like it's going to be a struggle to put their 2 best teams in this playoff.
It's perception, though. That's what it comes down to, right? You have the blue blood programs in the SEC going up against the newcomers, like you mentioned, SMU, and even Pitt, for that matter, that had a win total of 6.5. So when they overexceed, it takes a while for the media and all the hype to surround them.
Pittsburgh, one of the 9 remaining undefeated teams. Indiana, also unbeaten at 7-0, plus 140. BYU remains perfect as well. Plenty more from this Saturday next.
they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player we've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I tend to do this a lot, by the way. I do it more in baseball with the anytime home run, where I may play 4 players at home. I call it covering the board. You know, if I take 4 players, bet the same amount on each, I only need to hit 2 of them and I win money.
He's already got 438 rushing yards on the season. He's looking like the old LT days where the Chargers were able to have that strong, dominant running back.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The reason we have 5 ranked versus ranked top 25 tilts on this final Saturday in October. Welcome back to the AP Top 25 Vanderbilt. They were ranked in the final AP poll at the end of the 2013 college football season. This is the first time since 2008 Vandy checks into the AP Top 25 during the middle of a college football campaign. They're number 25. They're back at home in Nashville, where they have already pulled off one of the largest upsets of this season against then number 1 ranked Alabama. They welcome in last week's number 1, now number 5, after Texas got beat by Georgia in Austin a Saturday night ago. And Joe, you can see what the odds makers expect for number 5 Texas to show that resolve, to find this bounce back spot. The Longhorns favored by 3 scores. It should be a bounce back for Sark and company. Will it be smooth today in Nashville?
I think it will. And I think this is a dominant double-digit win by Texas. I'm laying the 18.5. I just think that they have a speed advantage on Vanderbilt offensively and defensively. We saw Texas last week struggle running the football against Georgia, less than 30 yards in that game, 1.1 yards per carry. They were completely one-dimensional, trailed 23-0. Yours, Manning, they were pressured early and often by that front 7. This is a different animal with Vanderbilt. I know they're playing well. They're averaging 33 points per game. Pavia's completing 69% of his passes, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception. I really believe the secondary could be exposed by Texas over the top. I think Texas wins this game 30 points or more. I'm laying it with Texas in the ballgame.
You think they win by 30, or you're saying they score 30?
I think they win by 30.
Wow. That's a lot. That's quite a bit. Here's the incredible thing. If Texas wins this game, is that their best win of the season? Yeah, man. I just hope Ben's top 10 drops them further than the AP poll did. I'll just say that.
Let me take a check just to see where we are.
Here's my thing, right? They went to I know. They went to Michigan, right?
AP pollsters are smart.
And I gave them a lot of credit for that win.
Correct.
I was dead wrong about the game. The more you watch it, though, Sharon Moore's chasing his tail. He's going to a starting quarterback today, right? Yeah. Okay, so that's not great. They smash Oklahoma. It's a rival. You win by 31, but also Oklahoma is having a nightmare season like they haven't had in quite some time. You step up and play Georgia. Losing to Georgia, no shame in your game. Down, 24, 27 up, along that lines?
Yeah.
At half? No, there's shame in that. All these top games, the home teams won, with Oregon winning, with Bama winning.
Yeah.
They've been close. They've been great. So if you're Texas, yes, they are, I think, from a power rating perspective, easily a top 10 team in college football. resume perspective, I'm not sure they're in front of Notre Dame.
And what's really interesting about the Longhorns, Kev, 0-2 against the number as a favorite in SEC play against new conference competition, the only cover in a conference game in the Red River rivalry against Oklahoma. And part of the uneasiness around Austin was not just getting beat by Georgia. Makes sense. All of us here thought Georgia was a very live dog last week in Austin against this Texas team. But it's a can of worms that has mostly remained shut for the last year and a half in the quarterback controversy that is starting to build between Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. Steve Sarkisian has done a great job handling all of this. It's Quinn if he's healthy. We like what Arch can do, but it's Quinn. Well, last week, Quinn Ewers, after a fumble and interception in the opening half, was benched midway through the second quarter. Okay, we turn to Arch Manning, who comes in for the final two possessions of that opening half for UT. 3 of 6 for 19 yards, also turning the football over right before the half. So Joseph Lisi, imagine your name is Steve Sarkisian. You're the head coach of this Texas football program. Who are you starting at quarterback?
I'll start Ewers, but if he struggles, I'll go to Arch Manning. There's no margin of error moving forward. I need to find offensive continuity in this game. This is a team in Vanderbilt that's playing with house money. They're 5-2 overall. They can make it to the SEC championship game. They play LSU and Tennessee at the end of the year, so you can never say never. And they're 4-0 as underdogs.
Correct.
ATS. Pavi is a dynamic dual threat type of quarterback. I need to get back on track. I have to show my team that, hey, we're going to put the best player in the team and the quarterback that's going to lead us to potentially wins, not just in October and November, but should we make to the college football playoff? That's what they need to do. Mm-hmm. They lose this game back to back. They're really fighting for their college football playoff lives. So, again, if Quinn Ewers is struggling like he did in the first half, he doesn't know where to go with the football. He's throwing interceptions. I pull the plug. I put in Arch, and I go with the hot hand because they're on the road. This is a young team in Vanderbilt that, hey, they don't care that Texas is coming to town.
For sure.
They already beat Alabama. So they're going to be confident. You're laying 18.5. I know that doesn't matter, but you really need to show big after that effort last week against Georgia.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I do think they will, by the way. So Ark is in a bounce-back spot here, and coming off of a game where they scored under 20. That is a rarity for a Steve Sarkisian offense here. I'm on their team total over 34.5. You know, I look at this spread here, and sometimes you think, all right, maybe we can sell high Vanderbilt, buy low Texas off the loss. You know, spread math kind of running around. Vanderbilt's getting respect here. I don't think there's really much wrong with this number, but I think that Texas can get over this team total. I expected this number to be a lot higher. I thought it maybe would be like 58.5, quite frankly. So to see it at 51.5, that was the direction that I went. And the reason I wanted to bring that up before getting to your quarterback question is, with Texas, most games they play, it does not matter. If the tweet came out within the middle of our show, they're going with Arch, I wouldn't go, oh, no. If they come out and say Arch isn't available today, it's fine. I'm not betting on Quinn or Arch necessarily in this scenario. It's the spot. It's Sark. It's the roster. So they'll be fine. But I don't know. At this point, I think the selling point on Ewers is we know what he is.
Yeah.
And he is good enough with this roster to win at a high level. With Arch, though, we all think he's better. I don't think there's many people out there that don't believe Arch has a higher ceiling than Quinn Ewers. Texas is title or bust, man, and it's a beautiful thing to be title or bust. He gives you the best chance to win a title, Ben, doesn't he?
And we'll see how this progresses. It's not just today against Vanderbilt. It's later in the year in SEC play and what might come beyond that. Arch Manning has started 2 games this year for the Longhorns, averaging 292. His better affair against a power conference team and an SEC foe in Mississippi State. 26 of 31, 325 through the air, 2 passing touchdowns, and showing off the athleticism that Quinn Ewers just doesn't really possess as much as Arch Manning, and a rushing touchdown as well. Go ahead.
Can I ask you, because you always are good keeping the pulse on this stuff, just the conversation around Texas this week, agents, Arch, no, Quinn isn't leaving for the draft. Was that much of nothing? Was it a college football Reddit situation?
Right.
What was going on?
As you are sharing right here, 24/7 Sports posted on their Instagram that Quinn Ewers was going to sit out the rest of the year and focus on the NFL draft. It has since and quickly was deleted. They came out and said that is not true. His NIL agents and representation quickly disfounded that rumor. But a rumor is a rumor because there might be a little bit of smoke for whatever reason, right? It could be Arch Manning gets a nod. It could be Quinn Ewers is unhappy. Whatever, as we know that agency is a big thing for players here in this era of college football. Quickly did want to talk about Diego Pavia. 190 yards or less in all 4 games for Vandy against power conference competition. But the Doors have been an underdog in all 4. They have covered in all 4. They have won outright in 3. And although he hasn't thrown for a lot, Lisi guy, multiple passing touchdowns in all 4 matchups against power conference competition. It's one of the reasons I like the over of this game. I think Texas finds its flow offensively, but I think Vandy keeps this game closer than we might expect and does so through its offensive output.
It's possible. They have a top-ranked third down offense, 52% completion percentage, but the strength of Texas right now, that's secondary. They've only allowed 1 passing touchdown, given up 133 passing yards per game. They contain Carson Beck, $175 and 3 interceptions. That's the matchup. That's why I like Texas.
Even after the loss, Texas remains the best scoring defense in the country, the only allowing less than 10 points per game, and the best total defense in the country, giving up just 237 yards. A new number 1 out in Eugene, Oregon, and Illinois. Next.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like this that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I tend to do this a lot, by the way. I do it more in baseball, but the anytime home run, where I may play 4 players hit home run. I call it covering the board. You know, if I take 4 players, bet the same amount on each, I only need to hit 2 of them and I win money.
He's already got 438 rushing yards on the season. He's looking like the old LT days where the Chargers were able to have that strong, dominant running back.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
There's a new number 1 team atop the AP poll for the first time in more than a decade. Dan Lanning's Oregon Ducks are ranked number 1 in the country. And to welcome in this new time of being the new number 1, a top 20 tilt today as they host Illinois. It's a top 20 matchup. It's the second time that Illinois has played in a top 25 tilt this year and caught more than 3 scores. Kevin, it's a 21.5-point spread in favor of the Ducks. Oregon has looked the ilk of a number 1 team the last few weeks. How competitive do you expect this game to be this Saturday afternoon in Autzen Stadium?
Well, I mean, about as competitive as the sports books do, which is not competitive. I mean, that is the thing. This Illinois team, man, I remember when they were going to Penn State early season. I go, what a gift for the Nittany Lions. They get to play a top 25 Illinois. They'll drill that team. They'll send them out of here. Illinois may not make the show again. Top 20 Illinois.
Yeah.
This is still going on. I mean, I'll tell you, Illinois pulls off an upset.
Yeah.
I mean, they might just crash into like the top 5. I don't even know what's going on anymore. I don't expect it, though, man. Oregon has just kind of been churning this year.
Mm-hmm.
The super slow start. Hindsight, maybe the Boise performance was all right. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe
Idaho wins the FCS national championship. Kevin's back in.
No. But I think for the Ducks, you look at this game here, man, and it's funny now. I guess I have come full circle. It's Georgian. It's Ohio Stadian. It's they're playing a top 20 team in the country, and we're just curious about a cover. They don't feel like they'll be in danger at any point in this game. They're better offensively, and they're better defensively. The Ducks' defense is continuously impressing here. Purdue moved the ball. They shouldn't have been shut out, but they were.
Yeah.
They were. The only team that have shown so far this year against the Ducks' defense, it was Boise and Ohio State. Mm-hmm. And that's where they're like, I don't know if that team's going to win a title thing, but the Ducks look built, Joe, to avoid upset here, which I think they will in this game. I think this game goes under 54.5, though. I don't trust the Illini offense to do their part with a total like this.
I'm with you on the under. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game, but I disagree. I believe Illinois is built to potentially push the limit and cover the 21.5-point number.
Yeah.
I like them on the road today, and I like Oregon big picture. I believe they're the best team complete in the Big Ten. I'm sitting on a ticket with them preseason at 2-1, not backing down now, and they've dominated. They dominated Ryan Brown, making his first, second career start.
Correct.
At home. They dominate 35-0. Jordan James got going in the second half. Defensively, they made adjustments and just completely handcuffed Purdue's offense. But right now, when you look at Illinois, the two games that stand out for me, on the road against Penn State, 18.5, they cover, lose by 14, 8.5-point dogs against Nebraska, win outright.
Yeah.
They're a battle-tested team. They rush for 187 yards on the ground. Love him or hate him, Luke Altmaier, still an experienced quarterback. He's mobile, too, can make plays with his legs. I told you all week on the radio, 24-14, Oregon prevails. I'm taking the points with Illinois. I think it's an ugly game, guys.
One of the reasons that Illinois is a competitive football team is because of Luke Altmaier, who was turnover-prone last year, does not put the ball in harm's way this season. And this is what the Illini have done under Burt. Brett Bielema does a lot with a little. They are a perfect 4-0 against the spread as an underdog. This year, they have won outright 3 times. Since Burt took over in Champaign back to start 2021, Illinois is 16-8 against the spread as an underdog, with 10 outright victories, one of 4 power conference programs that can claim that distinction. Double-digit outright wins when booked as an underdog. Illinois has 3 wins against a ranked opponent this year. Yes, 2 of them are no longer ranked. In fact, all 3, including Michigan a week ago. But that's the most in a season for the Illini since 1990. With all of that being said, Kev, unlike you, Lisi guy, I would not recommend laying 21.5 against Illinois. I'm just not sure the Illini are really in this game where it feels competitive. Can they cover? Sure. Not sure there's another outright upset today in Eugene. And one of the reasons why, because Illinois' defense is actually not great. 3rd worst rushing defense in the Big Ten, giving up $145 per game on the ground. Kev, if you're looking not only for Oregon to continue its chase to a Big Ten championship, a college football playoff spot, and of course that national title as well, you also highlight the individuals. Dylan Gabriel, now the 2nd best price to win a Heisman Trophy. How much offense out of the Ducks do we see today?
Yeah, so one of the other reasons I'm on the unders, I don't actually think Oregon has been crisp enough offensively to send this game over on their own. I don't see 42-45 in this game from this team, which is what I think you would probably need from them in order for this game to get over the number. With Dylan Gabriel, if you look, he's outside of the top 10 in passing yards and passing touchdowns. He has scored a little bit on the ground this year. In the passer rating college football statistic, he is 5th right now. If you look at the guys in front of him, Curtis Rourke, Jackson Dart, Will Howard, you don't expect them to be in the race. Cam Ward. To me, with this Heisman Trophy, it does very much feel now that those 2 are just going to keep going like this, where surprisingly, and this isn't how I thought it would play out, Joe, record might be the determining factor for the Heisman Trophy this season with the expanded field. That is not how I thought it would go. But if you look at the odds right now, it's the two unbeaten quarterbacks at the top.
It is, and they're producing. I mean, Dylan Gabriel last week, even though they were a little inconsistent, puts up 290 yards on Purdue's defense. 2 weeks ago, he throws for 300, runs for the key touchdown over Ohio State. And to Kevin's point about Cam Ward, I mean, the 319 and 4 touchdowns, and you pull that game out in the fourth quarter against Louisville, all you do is win, baby. You're going to be there. Again, what does Oregon have to do in this matchup? Utilize Dylan Gabriel. They're averaging 300 passing yards per game. If they could jump up, if they have the ability to jump up by double digits, that'll take Illinois out of their game plan, and that's how Oregon covers this number. But again, styles make fights. Going to be very difficult, in my opinion.
You know who's also come on for this passing attack for Will Stein and the Ducks? It's been the Texas A&M transfer in Evan Stewart. At least 96 yards in the last 2 games. Had a $149 and a touchdown against Ohio State. In his first 5 games of the year, 102 total yards, 245 in the last 2. And to your point, Joe, about this Ducks defense, the last 3 weeks really against Purdue, outside of Ohio State, Michigan, and UCLA, the defense has taken huge positive strides. We'll talk about Navy and Notre Dame up next.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player we've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like this that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I tend to do this a lot, by the way. I do it more in baseball with the anytime home run, where I may play 4 players hit home run. I call it covering the board. If I take 4 players, bet the same amount on each, I only need to hit 2 of them and I win money.
He's already got 438 rushing yards on the season. He's looking like the old LT days where the Chargers were able to have that strong, dominant running back.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
In this opening hour of our final Saturday in October, live right here on College Football Today on SportsGrid, we have hit on all 5 ranked versus ranked matchups on this Saturday, the most in a single Saturday all year long. And again, the reason we have 5 top 25 tilts, Vandy inside the AP poll, as is the Naval Academy for a second consecutive week. The midshipmen are perfect. 6-0 for the first time since 1979 and ranked 24th in the country. A rivalry matchup today in East Rutherford, New Jersey. inside MetLife Stadium against number 12 Notre Dame. Joe, this line is working to the Irish. They are now laying nearly 2 touchdowns, a 13.5-point spread. The 97th all-time meeting between the Irish and the Mids. What gives today in East Rutherford?
Well, from the series perspective, Notre Dame has dominated. They've won 6 straight, the last 4 by an average margin of victory of 25.5 points per game. Picked up this victory in Dublin last year with Sam Hartman, 42-3 through 4 touchdowns. But to me, that's the difference. You know, Sam Hartman last year against Navy attacked them over the top. Riley Leonard coming into his own with the passing attack, but they're still a little bit inconsistent. And on the flip side, you have a Navy offense that's pounding the rock for 274 on the ground. Their secondary has forced 10 interceptions, guys. I like Navy. I don't know if they pull out the victory, but I think they have the offense to keep it within the number. I think there's a 4-quarter game, very close. And again, I keep talking about it. The way you beat the triple options, get them out of their game plan, like a half-court versus full-style, run-the-floor type of game. I don't think Notre Dame is built that way, Kev, so we'll see how it plays out.
I'm glad you went to Joe first so he could give people a breakdown and give them some insight into this game.
Yeah.
This is a disgrace. This is a joke. This needs to be fixed, and I'm going to make sure that I make points about it. Notre Dame Navy is ranked.
Yeah.
This is an awesome football game. It's here today. If this game started 7 hours later, maybe I would be going. And if I was going and wanted to place a bet in the game, I'd have to quickly stop in New York and place a bet in the game. This is a clown show. This is ridiculous. This is embarrassing. This needs to stop. Because Notre Dame Navy is in New Jersey. We are in New Jersey.
Correct.
I am honest. We are honest. We are always honest. If I give you a pick, I am betting the pick. What would be the point then, right? We put the work in. That's what we do. I will tell you I lean under in this game. I'm not betting under in this game because I'm not driving back home to bet under in Notre Dame Navy. And I can't bet this game because they're playing in MetLife today. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous that we cannot bet a top 25 matchup.
Yeah.
How much longer do we have to deal with this nonsense? Truly. Like, what happens? I know we're doing college football. Rutgers is going to be in the top 25. If that team goes on a run in the NCAA tournament, we're not going to be able to bet on a March Madness Elite 8 game. This is ridiculous. This is so bad. This cannot be a thing. We are not fixing games. We are not. Again, especially when I could drive to south or north and get the bet in anyway.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. It's a top 25 game, Ben, and we can't bet it because it's here in New Jersey. Come on.
And one of the even more infuriating things, neither of these two programs hail from the great Garden State. Of course, Annapolis, Maryland is where the Naval Academy is. South Bend, Indiana is where Notre Dame is located as well. But the game is played on a neutral site. We don't need more neutral site games in college football, and thus we cannot bet it here in New Jersey. You guys will continue to break down the football game. Might I argue that Navy has a better passing attack than that of Notre Dame? I kid slightly, but Riley Leonard, who threw for $163 or less in the opening 5 games of this year for the Irish, has thrown for more than 200 the last 2 weeks. 3 touchdowns to only a single interception. All 3 touchdown passes coming 2 weeks ago against Stanford. You mentioned the triple option. It's the new age triple option with Brian Newberry in his second year as Navy's head coach. They're the 4th best scoring offense in the country, averaging nearly 45 points per game. Navy is the only team in all of FBS college football to play to the over in every single game this year. All 6 games, 6 overs for the Mids, over by nearly 16 points per game. So, Lisi, guy, you think the midshipmen keep this game close? What can we expect out of a quarterback you need to know? That's Blake Horvath for the midshipmen.
Well, again, they work off of play action, right? So if they're running the football consistently and then utilize play action and hit them over the top, and I'm talking about the Notre Dame defense, they have the ability to jump up early. Again, when you're betting a triple option team, you want them to score first to dictate the tempo, shorten the game. If Navy does that, Kev, they're going to be in it from start to finish.
Yeah, I hope Notre Dame cracks this team, quite frankly, though, because honestly, I mean, this Irish team, man, again, we're sitting here right now with a loss in Northern Illinois. You got to be kidding me.
5-0, though, against the spread against non-MAC opponents. Navy is covered in every game against an FBS foe. Hour 2 of CFT is up next.